Again for staying with us today on Connect and Collaborate. We're wrapping up our focus on manufacturing this week. I'm so glad to have Tim Heaton here, president of Colorado Advanced Manufacturing Association. We also call it CAMA.
Yep. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Glad to have you here. And Jessica Wilbur from Reata Engineering, and she's been sharing some of her sales tactics and how it works. Going in there really, it's not just the sales team, and you're not going in there just to sell.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're going to solve problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Tim?
Well, I just want to segue off that because we've talked a lot this week about changes in manufacturing, changes in the way we think about our workforce, how we grow our workforce versus buying our workforce. Talked about technology, additive manufacturing, et cetera. So there's something new that's coming to the marketplace, and I know you're not that familiar with it, so I'm going to get some reaction out of Jessica as well, but Industry 4.0 is a term that originated in Germany. It's a term that's coming to the United States. CAM is doing all that we can do to bring it to Colorado.
Industry 4.0?
Industry 4.0.
Okay.
What that means is it's the Internet of Things.
Okay.
It's the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, so it's how do we use the Internet to grow our business. We were talking about efficiencies on the plant floor. You can have some of the automated equipment that Mike Hirsch talked about or Heidi talked about on Wednesday. You can be getting text messages from your machines on your cell phone. That's an example of the Internet of Things. So we're clearly moving in that direction, but the Internet of Things is also changing the way we do sales. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, 100%.
So with that, there's some tools that are emerging, one of which is one the National Association of Manufacturers, NAMM, has put together. It's called the Manufacturers Marketplace. There's a similar product here in Colorado called the Manufacturers Connect. And this is just an online database. What makes the NAMM database so powerful is there's more than 300,000 manufacturers that are in this database. So if you're looking to be found as a Colorado manufacturer, by somebody out in Detroit or something like that, this is the database that you could put yourself into and let Detroit find you. But as you pointed out, if you're looking for an anodizer, here's a chance for you to go in there as well. So this is an example of how sales is changing. Okay. It's the Internet of Things, as we call it. It's Industry 4.0, and it really is changing. Again, the sales process. Now, having said that, though, and I'm looking back at Jessica, and I strongly encourage all Colorado manufacturers to tie into these online databases. Because when you think about the sales process is really two steps, right? It's identification, finding that would-be customer or that would-be partner, okay? And then it's building trust. So these online databases are powerful search engines. I mean, think Google. That's really what this is here. This is Google for manufacturing. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's great for finding or identifying that potential partner. But then this is where, and I've seen the mistake with some companies. They go into these databases, and this has just become the Rolodex of the 21st century. Oh. And that's not the right way to think about these databases. You can go in there, you can identify a company, but then it's what do you do with it? And that's where I'll yield back to Jessica to say, okay, how do you go off and build that relationship? How do you build trust?
Well, consistency is very important, especially how I do things. For instance, if I'm prospecting, I'm consistently going to call you until you give me an opportunity. I'm going to consistently show up and make cold calls on your company until you give me an opportunity.
The only way to get rid of me is to talk to me.
Exactly, because I'm passionate. I know that we can do something for them. And it's just a matter of consistently showing up, being present. And, today's day and age, it's really hard to be present. With cell phones, technology, you go to meetings, you try to talk to somebody, they have their phone in their hands. And this is a millennial talking.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the importance of when you do get that first shot at that client that you're looking to speak with or do business with, to be present and to actively listen. as opposed to just talking the whole time. Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, you know what you can do for them, but really what you want to do is understand what they think you could do for them.
And find out what their needs are
exactly
so you
what
can
their
offer the
problems
solution.
are and how we can help that. So if you're talking the whole time, you're doing it wrong. And that's a huge thing. We need to become more relational and less transactional. And that kind of is the whole scope of, how I go to market when I'm prospecting or when I'm trying to build or establish a relationship or even continue a relationship that I currently have, but I know could be better. I just listen more. And then I'm just consistent with my follow through and my follow up. Even if it's something small, even if it doesn't even pertain to work, just being there for that individual is important.
So I think, thank you. And that's really what I wanted to get across, is because I again would encourage every manufacturer in Colorado to subscribe and become a part of these national databases, because that's what's going to help continue to put Colorado on the map when it comes to manufacturers.
Right.
NAMM is the National Association of Manufacturers. We wouldn't be here having this conversation today about National Manufacturing Week if it wasn't for NAMM. They're the drivers behind this, and they're the drivers behind this marketplace, and they've put their weight behind it. It's actually it's what I find so beautiful about this tool is that it's one thing that they built it, but they actually set aside a budget off each transaction. So a percentage of each transaction, if you will, is set aside to maintain it, so that they're constantly updating it. Because again, the internet is moving forward, and so they're going to make sure they move forward with it. So again, I would encourage manufacturers to tie into this. That being said, though, now again, I'll look back at you then to say, does it take a millennial, or can some of these more traditional manufacturers who've always been about handshakes, is this an opportunity for them to expand their horizons without sacrificing that relationship that they've come to know and really used to grow their business over the years?
I think you can encompass both what millennials consider a Throwback Thursday method of selling, doing the face-to-face, to what, today's day and age, as being a millennial, texting my customers, I do it all the time.
Really?
But don't think that I don't show up there.
Right. You have to.
I have to show up there. I
Yeah.
have to lock eyes with that individual and let them know that I'm going to be there when they need me to be.
Well, you can't be an anonymous something behind a screen either,
Exactly.
because that's how our society seems to be plummeting in the first
Yes.
place. But to be both, to be able to be in touch and also in person.
Exactly. And I think that people who've been doing it for quite some time would be, being a part of NAMM is something really to be proud of. And it is a competitive advantage that you can have over people who are not. You can, for instance, say that you're NAMM directory listed. Now, educating your employees on what that means is going to be everything for them to become passionate about it, and then it will just happen. It will just sell itself. Your employees will then want to sell for your company without even kind of realizing that they are. Just because you've created this culture of, man, we're that big of a deal?
Yeah.
And it's just a little old us, So I think that's really important to portray when it comes to this kind of stuff.
And that then is another example of how you bring the whole company into the sales process, which is critical to doing sales these days.
Well, and that was one of the points you made earlier, Jessica, that, if you're working with a potential customer and learning that what they need to know is something that your engineer can answer better than you can, go ahead and connect that customer with the engineer. Go ahead and with the researcher or whoever, right?
Right, exactly. I am pretty much the liaison between the shop
Oh, that's a great way to
and
look
my
at it.
customer. I'm just the person who points the customer in the right direction in order to get the actual questions answered. I did not go to engineering school. I am not an engineer.
Right.
Do I know how things work? Yes. Do I educate myself constantly? Yes. But I am not the expert. I am the expert in relationship building.
Well, and how much more does that say to your client? Where it's like, let me get you the expert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that instills, if I go on vacation, they still know they're going to get taken care of.
Nice.
People sell to people, People buy from people, but at the end of the day, they do want to know that without that one person, the company still exists.
Yes.
And I'm selling my company. I'm not selling my product.
Right. Great. Thank you so much, Jessica Wilbur from Reata Engineering. Tim Heaton, thanks so much for helping us out this week discussing manufacturing.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's been
Thank
a lot
you.
of fun.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a great conversation, and I just want to reiterate that you're saying, helping the companies do business with each other. You don't have to be competitors all the way across the board, and you're going to have to build the businesses in order to keep all the employees going.
Absolutely.